What's up, you guys?
Okay. All right. Welcome to Double D's Lovecast. I'm Damon.
I'm Desiree, and this is Life Therapy for you. Episode 5.
Yes.
Woo!
Episode 5, baby. So we're just getting started, really. So they're actually going pretty quick. We're only doing one a week right now. So
yeah,
we have 3 cameras going on right now, just an FYI, in case you see us looking around. So Des, what did we do? So we like to start our podcast off every week with talking about what we did last week for our dates. So we actually did like 2.5 this past week, since we talked to you guys last. So what did we do last week?
So last week we decided that we were not going to do any drinking because we're actually leaving tomorrow for a fun camping trip, which means there's going to probably be a lot of alcohol involved.
A lot of drinking, McCamp.
So we didn't want to do any drinking at all of last week. So we did like a park date.
Because normally our dates include wine. Just an FYI. Okay, go ahead.
So we sat at a park on a bench and it cost us $0 for all of you guys that don't want to spend any money or don't have any money. It does not cost any money to do a date at a park.
And what did we do at the park?
It's beautiful. We actually had a really good conversation. Damon brought his lunch. I ate my lunch before we went. And then we just sat and talked. We had a lot of really good conversation. He did tell me, by the way, that I'm a much better speaker when I do drink. But this last time I was so much better because as you guys know, well, actually, I don't even think we've even brought this up, but I am a really, really bad communicator, like speaking it like from my voice. I can write anything down on paper or type it out or whatever. But that's where we've really lacked, I think, in a lot of our relationship in the past, is not being able to just have like really good communication skills. So that's just
terrible communication skills. She did too.
So it actually, when we were forced to, not forced, but like to go on these dates, but we are, investing in like the books and the app. It's forcing us to like ask each other the questions that these app and these books bring up. So it's forcing us to like talk about it in communication. That's what I'm saying. Like we've been saying this for a while, is that we've learned so much more about each other in the last like few months that we have in all of like the 12 years that we've been together. So if you guys aren't doing the book or doing any of the apps, so it's the 8 Dates book, if you're just tuning in, or the Paired app, I highly, highly, highly suggest it because it asks like really good questions. It actually makes you really think about, what's important to you, and just stuff like you would never like really like think about. I mean, even ask you like silly questions about like, what is it? What famous like movie kiss?
Yeah, that was one from the Paired app the other day.
Yeah. Or what's your like celebrity crush, or your favorite celebrity couple? I mean, just like random ones like that, but they do ask you some really good ones that don't involve like celebrities and like, stupid stuff like that.
Some of them about connection and sex and dating and household chores and all kinds of stuff on the actual app. But another thing that we do a lot too, that a lot of you guys probably don't know, is that we listen to audiobooks and stuff. So like when we're driving our cars and stuff, we're listening to podcasts and audiobooks and things like that. And whenever I hear something that kind of like, oh, that'd be great date conversation right there. I'll actually write notes in my phone and then actually write like the question down or write down the idea. So that way I know when we go on our next date, I'm like, this is going to be great, deep conversation right here. So I save that information in my phone. And then we go on our dates. I usually have like a list of questions that I've accumulated over the past like week or few days where I'm like, I got some great date questions today. We're going to have some great conversation. So that's just like a little tip. So when she's talking about like, I always have questions, that's what she's talking about. So I accumulate questions all the time. So
he does. He always comes to the date with a ton of questions.
And it's sometimes it's like deep, serious stuff. And sometimes it's just like more just life things and fun stuff. And it's just whatever going on, whatever we're listening to, podcast or book.
And if you guys have some great like book recommendations as well, please, please, please send them to us, because we are always looking for some new content on stuff to like listen to or to read or anything that has like, it's going to be really good for like our marriage. So, or even just like parenting too.
Absolutely. So one of the things that that we talked about in the last episode was, and I was kind of planting this seed, especially for you men, is that you guys need to actually work on your healing in order to be able to meet your woman's needs emotionally, right? And because that's where a lot of you guys are going wrong in your relationship. What I forgot to mention last week was that what is it that relationships need to do in order for them to succeed and thrive?
Be intentional, be intentional.
And how, and when it comes to being intentional, really what she's trying to say is you have to put your relationship
first.
Okay. Now I even made you guys a little diagram. See, now what I'm trying to show you
drawing
here
is not his strong
is,
suit.
yes, it's not my strong suit, right? But you get it. I'm sure your drawing is about equally as good, right? Now, if you really, and I'm gonna get a little dark for you for a second here, okay? Society tells you something else, okay? What does society tell you you need to do whenever you are married and you have kids? What does it tell you?
Work and take care of your kids.
Tells you basically your kids come first, okay? That mentality is how you end up divorced, okay? You want your kids to be screwed up and in divorce relationships as well too? Put your kids first. You want to ruin their lives and make them emotional wrecks and to make them, you know, be damaged people like we used to be, right? Put your kids first, okay? So when it comes to your relationship, and this is what we did too, and it wasn't anything that we did intentionally. It was, you know, if you watch the first few episodes, we had, you know, the new baby going on, and then we had the son that got into the drug problem, and it basically just became like the priority, right? And then we became, you know, our relationship just was not being taken care of, right?
Yeah.
So we know from personal experience.
Yeah. Instead you want to show your kids what they want to mimic when they are grown up and they have a marriage, you know, so you want to show them a stellar marriage. You want you know, as a husband, you should be showing men how to treat a woman, you know, all the mannerisms, that stuff is like really important to me. Like, you know, act like a gentleman.
Yeah. So speaking of that, what is something that I do for you on a regular basis that like most guys in the world don't do?
He still opens my door, closes my door, my car door, everything. I tell him all the time he doesn't need to, and he doesn't listen.
I literally will wait by the car. I don't care if she's loading the back of the car. I'll literally stand there with the door open and wait until she's done. She'd run back inside of the house. You can do whatever. I'll stand
like my
there.
Personal valet.
I'll stand there until she gets in the car, and then I close her door for her. Because, and I've been doing that for 12 years. Even whenever we were broken up, I was still doing that. So, you know, she would come over to my house and then, you know, to drop off Axel, and I would literally walk her out to the car, open her car door for her, even when I hated her.
He opens all the building doors for me still.
You know, and that's something that, and I do that also to set an example for the kids, right? I want my boys doing that for their wives. Right.
Yeah. So my littlest guy, he actually does that for me. Sometimes he'll open the door and hold it, and he's like, ladies first.
See, so setting the example. And that's one of the things that we've been trying to do too, is to set the example for a relationship, because we didn't have one, right? We didn't have that example. So we're trying to break that cycle and be the example.
Exactly.
So my whole point of this is you got to put your partner first. Okay. Not the kids. You want a divorce? Put this stuff first. Okay. You want to have a good marriage? Put your spouse first and your marriage first.
Be intentional.
Be intentional
in everything that you do with your relationship, planning your dates. Like we knew that. So our normal date day is on Thursday. Tomorrow's our Thursday, which means that we're going camping. So we have no date day. So we actually, when we knew that this was going to happen, we made sure that last week when we met up, that we planned to have a different date day before we went on camping, because we knew it was already going to get in the way of us having like good conversation. So we actually had a coffee date yesterday, just met at a local coffee shop. And you guys, there should be really no excuse. Like I work a regular job. I run a gym. I have personal training. I'm studying for my real estate stuff. He is training, gym,
digital
media,
marketing, all kinds of stuff.
We have kids in summer school that we're driving from one
opposite sides
of the county. Yeah, like and taking care of like animals. Like I'm even dog sitting right now and still trying to get ready for the camping. So there is no excuse. You actually just have to be completely intentional and make time. Like we were really looking at, we've really talked about like spending the 15 hours with your partner. And even if we dialed in and we looked at our numbers of like 15 hours a week, like I don't even think we get 15 hours. And we are intentionally like making sure that we have like date time, and I think we're maybe even like half of that, if that.
Yeah,
so
we're talking about those 15 hours just alone, just you two, no interruptions, no kids, no people, no stuff. Like we spend a lot of time together, but a lot of that time, especially Friday, Saturday, Sunday is usually with, friends, family, and things like that. So we're talking about like the time alone, just you two to connect, to talk, to just be invested in one another. And that's another thing when it comes to being intentional, is you guys need to put time aside daily to just be together and connect with one another and have conversations and not be distracted by your phone and your kids and things like that. So if you need to put that in your planner and schedule it as intentional date time, do it. Right.
Yeah. One of the things too that we just started doing on our dates is at the beginning of every date, we started talking about the things that we liked that the other person did in the past week.
So
or
3
something
things
that we're like grateful for that other person.
Which has actually been really cool. Cause like she said something to me yesterday that I was like, oh, I didn't know that. That's nice. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, and he's like, I thought you, based off of your reactions, I thought you didn't like that.
Cause she's got that RBF all the time, so.
I'm just one of those people, you guys, like I do love touch, but I also love my own space, like not to be like in my bubble. Like I'm extremely like independent. And so it's like,
which by the way, guys, comes a lot from a lot of those things we've talked about in the past.
All my past. So I've had to be that person,
being
strong, strong, independent woman. So yeah.
Yeah. So what's another thing that people can do to be intentional about their relationship? There's one more thing. You forgot it.
Refresh my memory.
You need to be physical with your spouse intentionally. Okay. Regularly. All right. I know a lot of you guys are going like 6 months, 12 months without ever being physically intimate with your spouse. Listen up. If you ain't being physical with your spouse, you ain't got a spouse. Okay. You have a friend, you have a roommate.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're not being physically intimate, you don't have a relationship. So if you're one of these women, I'm speaking to you women, because you guys tend to be the ones that are usually the ones with the lower drive. A big way that men feel love is actually through the physical intimacy.
And they actually like when the woman initiates it.
That's huge.
It makes their ego and makes them feel like more manly, more wanted.
Which feeds into one of men's basic needs. So actually, this was going to be a different episode, but let's kind of brush the surface on this. What is it that men really need?
They want to feel wanted by their person.
Which feeds what?
Their ego and manlyhood.
And almost there. You're almost there. So the one major, listen up, women. Okay. You want your man to be happy? Here's how you make a man happy. Okay. Men are driven by one thing and one thing only. Okay. This is everything that a man does is to achieve this one thing. And that is to achieve status and respect. Okay. So think of it like this. If you're one of these women that has a low drive, you're not initiating sex. You're not being that one that's being physical. You're the one that's shooting him down all the time, which is destroying his ego and his self-esteem, right? If you are one of these women, okay, you are basically, in his perspective, disrespecting him.
But what if she's not attracted to him?
Well,
that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of ifs.
There's a lot of things.
This is why you guys gotta start like communicating better, right?
Get your man in the gym. There could be a lot of factors as to that, but that's not about this topic. But for right now, just know that if you want your man to be happy, you got to do things that are going to feed that respect level, right? Like a man that is getting regular sex from his wife is somebody who feels very, very proud. It's feeding that status. It's making him feel very respected. Because when he's hanging out with his boys and then he's like, and you have the guys, that haven't been laid in months, from their wives versus the guy that's like, oh yeah, me and my wife have sex 3 times a week, minimum, right? Who do you think's getting more respect? Think about it like this, right?
Well, you're not supposed to share those things with your friends anyway.
It's locker room talk. Oh, come on. We know you girls talk about this stuff too.
No, we don't talk.
Yes, you do.
I don't with my friends.
Well, you don't, but your friends do. So, so anyway, but the whole point of that is be intentional with that as well too.
So we
Okay.
actually, I know, like, I have a couple friends that have like scheduled like
Mhm.
sex nights
Mhm.
because it's just so easy to just be exhausted and tired from your day-to-day life that we all live. And so if you know, like Wednesdays and Fridays, you're gonna have to like put out, you know, like at least you can expect it and your spouse expect it, and hopefully they don't bother you like during the week if it's like, if you guys don't have that like love connection. But maybe by having these scheduled date nights, maybe you'll start being more intimate with each other on those off days, because you're going to actually want that feeling of that emotional and physical connection.
Yes. Okay. So actually some of the most successful couples that we know actually schedule their sex regularly. So some of them it's the same days every single week. Some of them it's day on, day off, like it just depends on the couple. But some of the most successful relationships of people that we know, they schedule it. So,
Yes.
And this is also something that the experts talk about all the time too, is to schedule it. Right. So, and it's kind of, to be honest, like we schedule ours sometimes, and it kind of makes it more exciting because there's kind of like that anticipation, like, oh yeah, Tuesday at 12 o'clock, that's the day.
Yeah, it's like seriously,
like,
guys.
I'm anticipating it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's time, baby. So
I mean, I tell you, we are super busy. So sometimes we're just like, okay, Tuesday at noon is like a bedroom date.
No joke. No joke. And then what else do we do also to keep track of our sex days?
So we have a calendar.
We have a calendar.
And then so we have little happy faces that we stick on the calendar. So like you can actually see if you're like one of those visual
how
people,
intentional you've been.
Like if yours don't have very many happy faces on your calendar, then
you're not being a very good spouse.
You need to like step it up a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
So
takeaway from this episode is to be intentional in planning something with your spouse. Remember, financial meetings are totally separate when it comes to speaking finances, household, any expenses, that type of stuff is completely separate. That is not considered one of your dates.
That's a business meeting.
Do not go on a date with your partner and talk business or kids. Talk about other stuff, because I can guarantee you, like, I would not gonna want to go on a date with somebody that's gonna always talk about like the crap that's going on with the kids or all this like BS. This is where you have to like have this conversation, come with questions, like, and talk about the grateful stuff, because even that type of stuff will actually make you have more questions to even talk about throughout your relationship as well. And then maybe talk about what you want to do on next week, or what can you do like on your sex dates, or, you really got to,
how can you improve this area where you may be showing up short, where it may not be working out the way that you want it to, like, how can we resolve this? How can we make this better for next week?
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. That 8 Dates book and this Paired app, they give so many good topics of conversation when it comes to like questions. So really suggest that.
Totally. So we are actually going camping tomorrow, right? And we're going with one of my best friends, right? They've been my best friends for 22 years. Okay. So we have something special for you guys for the next episode. What is that? What are we doing next episode?
So we are giving you an extra credit episode tomorrow with our best friends, where they can talk about the success of their marriage and how they've been successful for the last 20 years.
Yeah. So we're actually going to be going live from the camping spot. Well, I don't know about live, but we'll definitely film it. And just to give you some context of who they are. So Jody and Jenny, they're like our best friends, right? So they've been my best friends forever, way before I even met Des. From Jody and I, he was like that friend of mine that like we were he had me at hello.
I love him too. He had me at hello too when I met him.
Like the moment we met in the Marine Corps, and literally the moment him and I made eye contact, him and I were inseparable, and we've been best friends ever since. Like literally, like the moment we said hello to each other, we've been best friends and inseparable. And so he's been with me through everything, right? And then we actually met his wife Jenny when him and I were out we went out to a party one night and we met her that night, and they've been together ever since. Now they've been together like 22 years, right? And they just celebrated their 20th wedding anniversary just like last month, right?
So but the kicker in that, guys, is he has been deployed multiple times.
Iraq, Afghanistan.
They've had to relocate, you know, across the country a few times back and forth. They have 2 kids. She's been busting her butt in school, which she had like a psychology degree.
Yeah, she has a psychology degree.
And so it's really great to see that with all those different hurdles that they've had in their relationship, that they are still like have a great, amazing relationship. So that's what we want them to come on and to share kind of what works for them and to give you guys some new tips that are just not from us.
And I'll tell you, from knowing them, being friends with them forever, like we used to even be roommates. And so I was always like the third wheel of that situation. We were like one dynamic forever, right? Like I even used to spend all my holidays and stuff with Jeannie and her family. Like their family basically adopted me and Jody, since we're both from different states, you know, and she's from out here. And so I'm really close with all the family. Like even her mom even tells me that I'm her favorite. Okay.
So we are super excited to get them on the show for you guys tomorrow.
Yeah. And I already kind of know how the relationship is, but they're going to give you some insight. And a lot of stuff that we've actually just told you is stuff that they do and they have been doing for decades. So, so that pretty much concludes this episode, and we will see you guys in a couple days.
All right, guys, have a good one. Be intentional. Go plan a date with your spouse.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.